Hey guys, welcome back to our online lessons where we will continue on, and we actually get to finish out James 1 today. Before we get started with that, we have one little announcement, and then we'll get into prayer and we'll get into the lesson. And that announcement is that our next fun video will be coming out soon. Hopefully we'll shoot it really quick. But before we can shoot it, we need your help. So what the next video is going to be is us leaders, so me and Sam and Anna, with a little bit of help from Tyler, we are going to be reacting to some funny videos. The whole water in the mouth spitting, trying not to laugh videos. But where you guys come in is you're going to be sending us those videos. So send us what you think is the funniest video that you have. Try to make us laugh. And we'll see which kid can rack up the most laughs from their leaders. Of course, I hope this goes without saying, but keep it appropriate, no profanity or anything, PG rating as always. We'll be going through the videos beforehand, so we'll be checking, but if you wouldn't show it to your parents, probably not the best idea to show it to us. But that is our one announcement that we have. As for anything else when it comes to youth group and stuff like that, we're still waiting on the go-ahead from the government to gather again. Hopefully when we're able to gather again, we'll be doing something really fun where it's not just like, we're coming back to youth group. It's like, no, we're going to do something super fun. So I hope that we'll get that chance soon, because when I heard that our Boston trip got canceled, I got really upset, and we're not making any decisions as of maybe camp trips this summer, because really honestly we just don't know how long this is gonna last, where we're gonna be in the next couple of months, or August, or heck, we don't even know where we're gonna be in the next couple of weeks or days. So this may finish out quickly and it's no worry, and we can do our camp week and it's not gonna be an issue. Or this may continue all the way into August until maybe next school year. I don't know. But just keep praying about that. I really trust the Lord that he's going to take care of it. And we're not going to be separated for too long. With that being said, let's get into prayer and we get straight into the lesson. Dear God, we just come to you in prayer right now. And same prayer as I've been praying the past couple of weeks, Lord. I just ask you bless the time of making this video, but I also ask that you bless the time of watching this video, whether it be on a phone or a tablet or a computer, in a living room, a bedroom, or on a PlayStation maybe even. I just ask that you bless that time of watching it as well. God, I ask that you give me the words that you want to speak through me to these kids and in this lesson. I just ask that you bless the time of our discussion. Lord, really open up our hearts to receive this message and give us the ability to really discuss it well, and Lord, bring about questions or really press on some hearts this week. And as always, Lord, please, your will be done. But please end COVID soon, because I know I'm ready to get out of the house and go to the beach or anything like that, or something like that. But Lord, we give you all of the glory, and we'll be patient, we'll be healthy, and we'll be smart. But we give you all the glory and all the praise, because you are worthy. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so like I said before, we're finishing out chapter 1 of James, which I feel like it's taken forever to get through just chapter 1. So that's great. So with finishing chapter 1, that also means we're finishing the section of listening and doing. Now that's the little section header that I have in my NIV Bible. You might have something different, but that's all. The last 3 lessons we've had, this one and the last 2, I should say, are all grouped in one section. So I kind of wanted to look at the thing as a whole, but also look at the last two verses as well. So before we get into the verses, the last two verses of the lesson, or of this section in James in chapter 1, let's look at the last two that we've had. So the last two that we had, the one last week we had was, don't just look at the word, but have it written on your heart. Don't just listen to the word, do what it says. And last week we talked about how listening and doing are two different things. Listening is just like, okay, you hear it, but it doesn't have any effect on your life. But doing is, you hear it, you listen and you hear it, and that changes how you act and what you do. And before that, the lesson before the last, so 2 lessons ago, we talked about being quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And what that means is be a good listener. Think before you speak and before you make assumptions. And don't be quick to anger, because our anger isn't necessarily the anger that brings the righteousness of God. Normally our anger is self-righteous and self-serving, and it really isn't for anyone else. And I was actually praying on this whole section in James, and I was really thinking about I was talking with Tyler, and one of our friends, a situation that actually really lines up with kind of just like was brought to my mind when I was like praying about this. And it was one of our friends. He actually is supposed to get married very soon. He was supposed to get married in June, and we were both really excited to go to this wedding. It's a wedding that's been in the making for such a long time. And when they were planning it, obviously they didn't have this coronavirus in mind. So it was coming up to the day, and they were like, everything is still closed. So they're still getting married. They're actually getting married really soon, but they aren't getting married the way they thought they were going to get married. They're not having that big party. They're not having the beautiful venue that they were gonna have, and they're not gonna have the not hundreds, but like a bunch of people that they invited. They're going to have their family, the best man, the maid of honor, and family, and that's it. No groomsmen, no bridesmaids. It's such a smaller group of people. And the thing is, our friend, he had one of two ways he could have reacted. And really honestly, he had the right to react in such a negative way and be so angry that, he's not going to get married the way that they had paid for, that they had anticipated. Like I said, they're still getting married, and they're actually holding on their 1-year anniversary. They're going to hold another party, like the big party that they anticipated having this year. But still, like he could have, his reaction could have been way worse. But really, his reaction was exactly what you would hope his reaction is. And what he told Tyler is that, there's always a reason. I trust the Lord. I know God is doing things for my betterment and for my good. And he was slow to anger. I don't even think he got angry at all. I'm sure he was really upset, but he didn't get angry. And his response was such a godly response of like, there's nothing I can really do about it. This is part of God's plan. I don't know what he's doing, but I trust him anyways. And so he was quick to listen to the Lord, and the Lord was giving him peace. And he was slow to speak, and so he was slow to not get wound up in his expectations of what he was going to do. So that meant he was also slow to anger, which is great. And I think that reaction, his the way he reacted to the situation was only in his ability, like he was only able to do that because because of what our last week lessons taught us, is that he doesn't just listen to the word, he does what it says. He has the word written on his heart, and and just like we should, he lives those out day by day, where he had full right to get upset that his wedding got canceled. And a lot of weddings did get canceled. I'm really glad I didn't plan mine for this year. But his reaction was based through what the Lord has done and what the Lord has done throughout his life. So he knows through experience and the word, what the word has told us, the Bible has told us, and verses have told us, that we can trust him and we can rely on him. So that word, the word is written on his heart, so he can walk out that single decision he walked out, that what the word has told us. But it also goes through his entire life. So that's really great. That's awesome. And so that's kind of, when I was praying about it, that's kind of, for some reason, that popped in my head, and I was like, that's a really good way to just sum up what the last two lessons were. So that brings us to our last two verses in James. So before we actually read the verses, they kind of seem out of place. Not necessarily, they kind of fit, kind of goes with, doing things, but James seems to shift to focus more on religion, and well, let's just read it. So it says, "Those who consider themselves religious and yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongue deceive themselves, and their religion is worthless. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world." So it seems like the last two verses is kind of just like general, like how you care for or like how you present yourselves. So why does James seem to shift a little bit? And what I think he's trying to do is he's trying to, well, I think very plainly he's making sure that it's clear that we know that we need to make sure we keep ourselves in check when it comes to our views of ourselves in our Christianity and in our faith. We see it in the Bible with the Pharisees, and sometimes we can even see it in Christianity today, that we think that just because we do all of these things, like we are quick to listen, and we are slow to speak, we are slow to anger, and we do listen to the word, and we do read it, and we think we're acting it out and stuff like that. Sometimes we can think that we are, I wouldn't want to say better than others because of our faith, but we think we have a higher standing before God when we really don't. And it makes me think of this verse, or these verses in Mark, when it says, when James says what God accepts as pure and faultless religion is to look after orphans and look after orphans and widows in their distress. It makes me think of this verse in Mark 12:30 and 31. So we can go there. I'll go there. If you want to follow along, you're more than welcome to. So a setup for this is what's happening is Jesus is talking or preaching, and he is somebody comes to him, a teacher of the law comes to him, or a teacher of the law hears him talking about things, and he comes up to him and asks him, what of all the commandments is the most important commandment? And Jesus responds very easily, saying, the first, there's two. The first is to love your God as the only God with all of your heart, mind, body, and strength. And I'll just read you exactly what he says. The most important one, he answered, is this. The Lord, I'm skipping a little bit. The Lord our God is the Lord, the only Lord. Love the Lord with your God with all of your heart and with all of your soul and all of your mind and all of your strength. The second is this. Love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. So what Jesus is saying here is that, above the 10 commandments, above the law, above any other personal feeling that you have towards somebody else, the two greatest commandments are love God and love your neighbor as you love yourself, because I would hope everyone loves themselves. And if you don't, stop it. Love yourself. But to connect this back to James, I think this is what James is trying to get us to understand, is that if we are doing things for our own self-gain, our own self-righteousness, our own just for ourselves, it doesn't really matter what we do. God doesn't like it when we do that. We have so much to gain here on earth by doing things for ourselves, but in the long run, we don't gain anything for doing things for ourselves. There's somewhere else in the Bible, and I'm really bad at remembering these things, but it just popped in my head that the first shall be last, and the last should be first. The last shall be first. So it's one of those. It's the idea that we need to put people first. We need to understand that yes, we need to take care of ourselves, and we need to think of our own well-being, but we shouldn't put other people in jeopardy. We shouldn't put other people's, them in jeopardy for our own, for just ourselves. And that's, and if we look back at the last two verses, the reason why, to get to the point, the reason why James is even talking about this and why he says this is because when we do the last two things that we talked about in the last two lessons, is if we don't do that through the love of Christ and love of God, we aren't able to do that. To bring it back to my friend, the only reason that he has the ability to even have that approach to his canceled wedding or his modified wedding to something way smaller than he ever anticipated, or I don't even know if it's that's what he wanted, but that is the only reason why he's able to do that is because he has the love of Christ in him. And his response is, I would rather have such a small wedding that is only our families and our closest friends. I don't want to risk anyone else. I don't want to risk any. I would love to have you guys here, but it's too dangerous. Now, if he didn't care, he would have a big wedding. I don't know if the venue would let him, but that's beside the point. If you think about it, it's you have to put people first to be able to do these things. And especially in this time of self-quarantine and the questioning of should we open things up again, putting political things aside, it's what is the best, and the loving thing to do is what is the best for us as a community, not what's the best for me. I'm not going to get sick, but my mom is in her 60s. She might get sick. And she's not a widow by any means, but I want my mom to be okay, and I would hope that somebody down the street would also care for her as much as I do as a neighbor. But the only way we're able to do that is if we have God being that source of, I need to think of other people before myself, and sometimes we fall short of that. But we can continue to discuss that in our discussion groups on Wednesday night. So like I said, I mean, everything has to be done through the love of Christ, and that's the only way we're going to be able to you know, get through these tough times. Not just these tough times, but any future tough time that we have as a church, as an American culture, as a country. You know, everything's so decisive nowadays, and I pray, you know, God, please bring us together as a country and as a community and as a culture, because it's really difficult to be out there by yourself. But that's all I have for you guys today. It's a little bit of a longer video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy the discussion and the game time that we have. So I love you guys. I miss you guys so much. And as much as like I kind of enjoy making these videos and kind of just talking at a camera, I really miss just seeing all of your faces, and I really can't wait until we can come back together again as a youth group and become better and keep growing and stuff like that. But remember, that in the description down below, it's going to be Tyler's email. So either email him links to YouTube videos or TikToks or a funny meme or whatever you think, maybe even a video of you doing something funny, trying to make us laugh. Send it to him, or if you're on our AYM Discord, send it there. Make sure it's in a private message, because I think part of the video I want to see if us as leaders can guess who sends in that video if it doesn't have you in it. But that's all I have. So I thank you guys so much for watching. I guess maybe like the video. I don't know. That feels weird to ask you to do that. But I'm gonna end it here because now I'm just rambling. All right, love you guys. Bye.